It's time for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the Voice of Reason podcast. My name is Sean Phillips. As always, I'm joined alongside my two co-hosts, Mr. Andrew Van Beber and Travis Kirkendall. And gentlemen, another year has gone and passed, and it is yet another year we were not on the Epstein flight logs, my friends. Congratulations to the three of us. How we doing?
I mean, I didn't have to try very hard.
No, but
Yeah. I'm about to say there wasn't a whole lot of effort that went forth to try to get on the list.
I'm not. Yeah,
You
like
usually just don't have to diddle underage people, and it will keep you off of it.
Yes.
So they say.
And if
Which goes into the first topic.
well, there you go.
We'll get there.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Teachers in Missouri, let me tell you.
Let me tell you. Holy cow! But
If she
Let me
wasn't
tell
on
you
the
where
list, she will be.
where were they when I was in school? You know, the age-old. Why couldn't I have been fondled by a hot teacher when I was 16?
I tried, Sean. I tried, but you always warded off my attempts.
You kept dropping them subtle hints. Kept dropping them, but no, never
Maybe
stuck.
Andy is on
Never
the
stuck.
list.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, we're all coming to you. Obviously, we're pre-recorded, but not to disappoint anybody. But it's snow day, man. It's a snow day. It's but the snowpocalypse. I'm beginning to wonder who's making all the French toast, because every time you go to the store before a snowstorm, everybody's going after, what is it? It's milk, bread. I can't remember what else it is that they always go after, but it's like milk. Eggs, milk, bread, and eggs. It's like, get the egg.
Well, if 2020 taught us anything, toilet paper too.
Toilet paper, yeah.
Can't forget about
Well,
toilet paper.
what's funny about when people hoard the milk, bread, and eggs is like those are pretty perishable items. So like if you were snowed in for a week and a half, it's like, well, all that shit is not gonna last you. So it's like at that point in time, take the mac and cheese, take the canned veggies, and roll with it.
Yeah.
There was probably someone back in like the whole pandemic when it was like 2 weeks to shorten the curve or whatever. There was someone that probably bought like 20 gallons of milk and had to throw like half of it out. There was someone.
Yeah, this point.
No, I remember. I remember when it first, like the first cases hit, because I'm pretty sure the first case was in Los Angeles. I feel like, which makes sense.
It was one of the coastal places, yeah.
Yeah, but when it first hit, it did. Like I remember the grocery stores in Jeff City where I lived at the time. No, I was actually in Pike County. We'd go to Troy Walmart, and even in Troy, it was like looking back.
Hello? Did we lose you?
John.
Oh no, I was just finishing off. I was saying it was looking barren, and then I was finishing up. Yeah.
Oh, I could one of these days we need to do a show that revisits that and bring on just a bunch of people another year will be a 5-year anniversary of the whole COVID shutdown thing. It's hard to believe it's been
That's still crazy to believe it even happened. Like,
yeah.
I've had this conversation with people before. I don't know if we ever talked about this on the show, but like, does the world in 2019, just as we know it, like, does it seem like a completely different time and place than where we are now?
Yes.
Just on so many, I don't know what it is other than like, obviously political divide and all that stuff, but I don't know, man. It seems like such a different time.
Well,
it seems like people were just different. Like, this is sounding cheesy, but just like the vibes were different back then. But it was just, I don't know. I feel like the world's just never been the same.
That V just said that because COVID started, towards the end of 2019, rolled into 2020. Mm-hmm. So at the end of this year, that will have
5 years.
5 years. That's crazy that it's been 5 years since COVID, because I definitely feel like it's still a topic of conversation.
Yes, it is.
And I feel like we didn't have that from, swine flu, all that other jazz.
Right.
But Travis Kelce keeps reminding us with his commercials that if you're not vaxxed, you will die still to this day.
I can do two at once, my flu vaccine and my COVID vaccine.
I don't know. I thought I was going to die when I got the booster shot, man. That was a bad night. I'm not even joking there. Yeah, it's weird, man. I think about that a lot. Like, God, it was we had to revisit that. I don't know what we'd really talk about. But that was just,
come to think
it's
about
still crazy to me that even happened.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, the end of this year will be 5 years be 4 years when, and Sean and I started talking about doing the podcast, and just, then COVID happened was COVID, all the shutdowns were happening. Did that happen our first season, or was that second season?
I feel like it would have been towards the first, because it would have been the first one, because we started, I feel like, the show not when I was in Eolia, but when I moved to Jeff City.
Yeah.
And COVID had already been a thing. Like, the shutdown happened by February of 2020.
Yeah, I remember that now. But
I got a question. I don't know if we're going to get off topic with this, but talking about anniversaries, you keep hearing the term the anniversary of the January the 6th. And that's such a phrase. It's such a headline. January. It's not just January 6th. January.
Happy Insurrection Day.
The insurrection to overthrow democracy. We've had that conversation, but to me, that's just such a cringe statement. And I don't know, if that was an insurrection, that was a pretty shitty one. I don't know if you've ever seen what an insurrection looks like, but
look at Cuba and look at Venezuela. That's an insurrection. We just had a bunch of pissed off people who didn't like what happened, and I don't know. Not defending their actions or
little
anything
rant
like that.
there.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
no. I had a few people who sent me a Happy Insurrection Day memes and stuff like that. I mean,
stupid.
I was just like, yeah. So anyway,
that's not something that doesn't need to be a national. They're trying to make it a damn national anniversary and stuff.
No, I think that's what gets me is there are people that try to compare it to 9/11, and I'm like,
no,
that's ridiculous.
Dog,
that's extreme. That's extreme.
Yeah, it's so extreme because I don't even remember. I remember where you guys were on January 6th of that year, but I was at home. I know you guys were enjoying a nice trip to Washington, D.C. at FBI, at CIA. But
oh my gosh.
I remember when that happened. And then I think it's just kind of funny now, some of the stuff, there was a guy on CNN, one of their anchors that was crying when talking about the January 6th insurrection, was actually crying because it was such a threat to our democracy. And I'm like, everything was fine on January 7th. Nothing changed. No, and the people that died were not on your side. So let's not act like it was, the end of times.
If I'm going to compare January the 7th, if I'm going to compare January 7th to September the 12th, my heart was more in my throat on September the 12th than it was on January the 7th. I just kind of shook my head and just okay, moving on. It was.
Well, here's the difference. New York was still on fire.
Right.
September 12th. So, DC was not.
Yeah.
On January 7th.
Yeah.
Big comparison there.
So anyway. Well, let's touch on a few.
Sorry about that rant.
No,
but I had to
that
get
was
that
great.
One
that
was
there. Great. That's a good way to.
Speaking of anniversaries.
But we're gonna go through a few things today, and then I don't know where exactly we're going. We did want to talk a little bit about what happened on what was it, January was that last Monday that the Alaskan Airlines flight 1812. Or 1282 was on its way from Portland to Los Angeles. Alaskan Airlines and what was called a door plug came out of the. It's a Boeing 737 MAX 9, which is a 737. That's a. I believe those are two. I think those are just the two side. I don't think it was. Well, let me see. I think it was it's like the three. It's two seats and I don't know if it's three rows or if it's just no. It's three seats and two sides. So it's three seats and two sides. And the door blew out, and the plane obviously became depressurized. They made a return flight to. It was a 30-minute total flight, and basically the last whatever it was, the last 18, 19 minutes of the flight were without this section of the plane. And
Where was the flight to and from again?
it was from Portland to Los Angeles. And so,
Okay.
and it had just made it out. I actually listened to the tower and plane. You can go to YouTube and you can listen to that. And I mean, hats off to the pilot. I mean, she was very calm about it and everything. But man, when you look, I'm looking at some of the photos. When you look at some of these photos from the plane and how, like the two seats that were by the plug, and thankfully nobody was sucked out of the plane or anything like that. But you look at the seat that was right.
Well, they tell you to wear your seatbelt.
Well, that's what the seat right by the plug must have had nobody in it, because all of the cushion and everything. Look, there's no cushion on this chair that's right by this plug. So. And they found the actual plug was in a high school physics teacher's backyard, landed in his tree limbs. And I mean, this is a nice big chunk of steel coming down out of the air. I'm just glad nobody was like, there to catch it on top of their head or anything. But what they're saying is that these 737 so they grounded these planes, and as of Monday, the FAA grounded them, and as they're doing these inspections on these Boeing 737s, they're finding a number of these planes. The hardware that holds these doors in, a number of the planes, the hardware was loose on a number of these planes. Hello, quality control, anyone? But did you ever fly with it, Travis? You were up there in Alaska. Did you ever fly with Alaskan Airlines, or did you ever fly them?
I flew with them. Yeah, I flew with them a couple times, and then I made the switch to Delta permanently.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care for the planes. Right. I wish. No,
Yeah.
Actually the pricing was about the same. I mean, flying to and from Alaska, it's just expensive. It doesn't matter what airline you pick. But yeah, the planes are just
That's
older,
why-
a little more cramped.
When I go to Alaska, I take Alaskan Snowline, and Cuba Gooding Jr. will come and pick you up with a
God.
pack full of dogs and
Yeah.
trek you across to the great north.
We were saying what Sean was saying earlier. He's like, well, whenever Sean, this sounds like something that should be with Spirit Airlines. It's like, well, that never happened on Spirit Airlines with me. So
Look, there's a reason. There's a reason to fly Spirit. All right. First off, look. I'll say it like it's better for people that are in the service, because the most expensive part of Spirit isn't the plane ticket, it's the bags. You get charged an asinine amount for bags. If you're military, your bags fly free. So, but here's the thing.
Wow.
What I like about Spirit is that, yes, it is a little rough. It's a little white trash. It's a little ghetto. It's a little bit of everything. All right. I have been on 2 Spirit flights where some elderly people had heart attacks mid-flight. All right. And whenever they go, is there a doctor on board? The answer is always no. All right. Every single time. It is a fight or flight situation, quite literally. You want to know what there are a lot of? Nursing assistants. All right. And let me tell you something. They put in that work, and I have seen them save these people in the sky. And I tell you what, man, if you see someone that's willing to get into a fist fight 60,000 feet in the air, that is the same exact person that I want if we crash landed onto an island. That is the same person I want, because I know that they're a special kind of crazy, special kind of stupid, and that's how we're going to survive on the island.
That's
I'm
fantastic.
the biggest pro-spirit individual on the planet.
Are you sure that was a pro spirit, or I'm not
I
really
don't know.
convinced.
Well, spirit still comes. You can roll the window down when you're up. You can roll your window down and
you can roll your window down, but at least your door doesn't fly off.
Exactly.
All right?
Yeah.
And the craziest
no AC,
thing,
but you can crack the window.
Hey, man.
Warm in here.
I tell you what's funny, well, not funny, but the scariest part about this whole situation for me, like the thing that gave me the heebie-jeebies, wasn't even like if it would have been me in the seat, but it was the two people that I believe that were closest to it. The reports that I saw, and I could be wrong, but the reports that I saw was that it was like a mom and like her 2-year-old.
Yes.
Yep. And so it's like, well, and it's like, if imagine like, a lot of 2-year-olds are normally climbing over stuff and doing stuff like that. So like, I don't know if this kid was buckled during like when the incident happened, but extremely fortunate because like a person, an adult might not get sucked out at that velocity, but a 2-year-old, is very believable. And the fact that no one was hurt was crazy. A very good thing, but also very crazy. It was actually funny too, because there were people that were looking for the door on the ground. They actually found the woman's iPhone still working, uncracked. Which I thought was
an endorsement.
Great
for
plug
iPhone.
for
Yes,
I'm about to say
that's
Apple,
a great endorsement.
Apple just needs to run that newsreel as their next commercial. Like, yeah, it might break if you just drop it off a desk at 3 feet, but it will survive a
10,000 foot
drop out of the sky.
10,000. Yeah, they were hovering at 10,000 feet, and they hadn't got that. I think that was the fortunate thing, though, Sean, though, that they hadn't gotten up to full speed. And they hadn't gotten to. I mean, I think they were at 17,000 feet is where they were at, and they hadn't gotten up to full. And so, yeah. So, but the 2-year. So I found a quote from a CNN article. She said this is just one of the. My son, his shirt got ripped off. So that was the 2-year-old. So it may have been close that he got sucked out, but geez Louise, that would be. Boeing has to do.
That's horrifying.
Hell of a lawsuit.
And here's the thing.
It's probably already going to be a lawsuit.
Well, Boeing is going to have to do. This is Boeing's track record going back the last few years. Boeing has had some serious issues with safety, with whenever you see if you do some of the YouTube search or a TikTok search or whatever of different Boeing, you see parts of the wing that have like some of the paneling over the wing that gets will be vibrating or will come off, or you'll see, and I was talking to Sean and Travis about this earlier, they had an issue back in I believe it was either late 90s or early 2000s where they had an issue with the type of the tires that they were using, where they were having blowouts on landings. So Boeing has and that's a local industry for.
Is there another besides Boeing? Who's the other big player in the game with commercial airlines?
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Is it a company called Jetstream? Does that sound
it's
right?
McDonnell Douglas.
Most of the planes, if not all of them, I've been on is Boeing.
Yeah, McDonnell Douglas. I had to think about it for a second. McDonnell Douglas is the other one that makes, and I don't know but Boeing is Seattle and St. Louis. I don't know if they still have plants down in St. Louis or not, but they used to be out of St. Louis.
I know. Didn't they close down?
Yeah.
Oh, they opened.
I think they did. I think they moved.
Or there was a big layoff.
Wild. And I think they moved a lot of that just up to Seattle. But, my wife we were talking about this. It's like anymore, and she and I watched the Sean mentioned, we were talking about the Malaysian Airlines disappearance thing, and it's like anymore. Do you still feel safe? I mean, you guys fly more than I do. I mean, do you still feel comfortable with flying, or is that still? I mean, I still think you have a better chance of getting into a car accident than you do with an airplane incident by far. But
I mean, I survived enough flights on C-130s and C-17s. I trust any commercial plane over those buckets.
you guys,
Yeah,
I'm very comfortable on a commercial flight. Very
I
comfortable.
don't necessarily like flying. I don't like how it feels, but I don't mind it. Let me rephrase. I also just don't really mind it either. I flew a lot for work the last 2 years, and so it's kind of become a thing that I've grown more comfortable with. I tell you what, though, and Travis can probably attest to this. I will never in my life get on an Osprey. You could not pay me to get on an Osprey.
what isn't?
It's the Marine Corps use them. It's the helicopters that's got the two blades on the top.
Let me see here. I'm bringing up a picture.
I've never flown on one, thank God. But they need to be decommissioned.
Oh yes, okay. I see this picture here. Yeah, the Bell Boeing V-22 Osprey, vertical takeoff.
It's Boeing, right?
Yeah, it's Boeing as well. Yes.
Yeah. Do you I would rather get on a Spirit airplane without a pilot than
a pilot.
than get on on an Osprey.
Flying it.
Yeah, because those things there's a couple of pages that I've followed that are military pages that I felt like there was a period of time where I felt like almost once a week, if not once every other week, where these Ospreys were crashing, and every time it's a minimum of 4 or 5 people are on these things at a time, and it's just soldiers in training, Marines in training, and Navymen in training just dying. I would say that last year, if I had to put a number on it, something like 25 troops on Ospreys alone, and it might be even higher. Like it was
ridiculous.
Rough.
Good job, Boeing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Boeing, not really bad on Boeing. Shame on the Department of Defense for allowing them to keep using it.
Yeah.
We keep having incidences with it.
And like incidents all over the world. Like there was a crash recently in like San Diego that killed like 8 Marines. Boeing training with Ospreys.
Well, and when you bring up anything that the government buys, I mean, it's going to go to the cheapest bidder. Okay, when they contract something out, it's going to the cheapest bidder, and so I'm sure that Boeing probably prides themselves on something. I don't know quite what it would be, but I mean, like I said, their track record is not the best. So, and just if anybody,
but I mean, they kind of run the market though. I mean, who's their competition besides like
McDonnell?
You mentioned the one.
Yeah, McDonnell.
I don't know what helicopter manufacturers there are, but like as far as you're talking about mass production, cheap, efficient, like Boeing's probably your top dog.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised at all that they got that contract.
Just to show the folks who are watching, this is what we're talking about. Those of you who are watching, so this is what the boys are talking about. These are the Osprey, but I don't think I would. Right now, Boeing, I'm kind of curious now to go and look and see what Boeing stock has been over the last. I'm sure it's kind of taken a little bit of a plummet, but
just like their vehicles, good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, that's why it always would crack me up, like seeing some of those. It's like a meme where it's like new, as seen on TV thing where it's like, yeah, military grade, and then it's like you see some soldier like, oh shit.
No, pass. That's okay. I'll pass on this one.
Yeah, I thought military grade was like the top. Like, oh, that's the cool shit. And then I actually got real military grade. I'm like, this is a piece of shit. What is this?
Oh man,
it doesn't even fit right.
Oh.
I'll have to show you a picture. We were given these a little off topic, but it's military grade. We were given these baklavas in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this. You could order clothes and like halfway through, and it was pretty cool. You get a lot of stuff. But one of the things they got with these baklavas, and the head, the cutout was like this. It was like that was the cutout. You couldn't even see out of it. Like it was a terrible. Like, who authorized that to get You can't do anything with it. You can't even wear it. Military grade.
Military grade.
I got a picture of it. I'll share it with you guys right now.
Oh man,
it's ridiculous, man.
oh, so that's the story with the Alaskan Airlines. Moving on to our next topic. This is one of those days where I feel proud to be an educator. Right.
No, insert.
Headline.
I wish we had, insert the song "Hopper Teacher."
So yes, headline published today. New York Post. Teacher slapped with rape charges after having sex with teen while using other students as lookouts. Boy's dad is also busted for allowing relationship. This is in the this is Pulaski County, Missouri. For those of you who are familiar, not familiar, Pulaski County is basically, this is Ozark country, south and west of Fort Leonard Wood, south and west of Rolla, on I-44 at the LaQuay School District. 26-year-old Haley Clifton Comack was arrested on Friday in Garden Ridge, Texas, after she was suspected of fleeing the state of Missouri to avoid arrest warrants. And a fellow student had reported the illicit relationship to the school's resource officer, who immediately contacted Pulaski County Sheriff's Department. So this lady...
Oh, that student sucks.
Snitches
you
get
know damn
stitches.
well,
Snitches
damn well that kid was like the last in line. Like, because what it tells me is if she had other students in on it as like lookouts, that makes me think that they were gonna get their turn, and so this guy was like, I don't want to be at the end of the line, so screw it. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, Sean, I think that South Park episode hit the nail on the head with this.
Hit the nail on the head. It'd be funny if the kid was a hall monitor that caught him and turned him in.
Well, so this is I'm getting the picture ready here. This was from what I'm bringing up here is actually from LaQuay's website. This is what's her name? Her name is so Miss Carmack. She was actually first year teacher. She had at the beginning of this school year. So this is the 23-24 school year. This was her first year of teaching. She had a husband and two daughters, and her favorite hobby, aside from getting porked by children, is cooking and outdoor activities. And again, fun fact, I love this too. It said, fun fact, I am left-handed and come from a blended family. So that she's left-handed, I guess that's good too. And one thing you're looking forward to this year, this is the greatest one though. You're looking forward to this year? Creating opportunities for students to find success in math after implementing growth mindset strategies they will use to better approach mathematics. Yeah, and
well, I tell you what, those kids got really good at understanding 69.
They sure did. But the witness also claimed the math teacher had been in trouble with school administrators in the past for being too close with students. Clifton was a recently divorced mother of two, would often wear tight or low-cut shirts to show off her headlights. And oh God, this is actually in court documents. And tight leggings that showed off her camel God. Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
God. It showed off her camel toe. God.
Hang on, what age are these kids again? What
16.
High school kids?
The kid is 16. She's 26.
Oh yeah, she knew what she was doing.
And so she was arrested on Friday. A warrant was issued for her arrest on December 22nd. Or no, a warrant was issued before Christmas break, and so she went to Texas, I guess, to flee from everything.
Probably took the cops a good, 2 weeks to decide to actually write the warrant out. They were probably like, where's the crime?
So
where's the crime here?
So she's charged with first-degree endangering the welfare of a child, second-degree statutory rape, sexual contact with student, fourth-degree child molestation. Her bond set at $250,000, and she is still in Texas awaiting extradition to Missouri. Then, to make the situation even better, and I want to, so then the boy's father, and let's just show you this gentleman here. This is the boy's father. You know, you've got this great shot here of him there. Here he is by the creek. Maybe another shot of him there. There he is there in front, parked out in front of the trailer there at the house. So this is his father is being held on $50,000 bail because the father knew of the relationship of his minor child and the 26-year-old teacher, and instead of reporting the information, he continued to cover for them and allowed the relationship to continue, and even allowed the teacher to come over to his residence and see the victim while he was present.
Oh, he was in on it.
Parent of the year. Parent of the year. Right there. You know, let's give it up for him there. Parent of the year. For oh God.
I mean, given the area this took place, I'm not surprised.
No, this is
really not.
This is Ozark. Any apologies to any of our Ozark fans that are listening? I don't know if we have any, but good golly, that just there's so many levels of wrong going on with that. And this is the thing. We already have a shortage of teachers. We already have a shortage of teachers, and I just think that given the black eye to the education, I mean this is small town. La Quilla looks like probably, I would say by the looks of it on a map, probably about a town of probably maybe no bigger than 3,000 people probably, and this would just be one of those things that, you know,
It'll be a big stinky brown eye on the whole town, won't it?
Yes, a stinky brown eye. Thank you very much.
You know, this is one of those things where I'm trying to find the words because
please search for them carefully.
Yeah, you know, naturally, like obviously this is a big no. You know, there's definitely you know, a lot of issues, and maybe I don't know. I feel like I'm just trying to think of my own head, right? Of all of the times, you know, when I was that age, or younger, even like hearing stories. Because if I'm not mistaken, our alma mater had an incident with a teacher and students around like 2004, 3-ish, 2005. And then hopefully, you know, on the record hasn't been, you know, any issues since then.
No.
I remember when I was in recruiting, there were certain schools that I had issues getting into because at one of my schools, it was a Marine recruiter, had slept with a student. And so I wasn't able to kind of like, they were very adamantly against letting recruiters back in their schools, understandably.
Yeah, sure.
But I feel like this past school year has just put Missouri teachers on the map nationally. I feel like, because this has been, I mean, Missouri teachers made a South Park episode recently. They talk about the OnlyFans Missouri teacher on the latest South Park special. I forgot about that.
She was she was a Missouri teacher. I forgot about her.
Two in one school. Wow. So I you know, Missouri teachers definitely, you're right, V. We already have a short list of names, and it kind of just appears that, you know, it's not, the list is not going to grow anytime soon.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the when I say the good name of teachers is sullied, you know, we have great teachers at our school district, and we have great teachers at neighboring school districts, but man, I really feel for younger teachers, because, you know, when I started teaching, I was my first year of teaching, I was 22 years old. So there was 4 years separating me from the seniors. And, you know, as a first year, of course, I was I was engaged to my first wife at the time, and I was, I didn't look at school. Hey, this is a chance for me to go and pick up girls. That wasn't what I viewed the education field as. I mean, there has to be a level of professionalism that when you come into this, you're the teacher, they're the student. And I mean, I mean, you guys are an example of people who have become my friends and close friends.
Well, that's because you weren't an athletic director.
Well,
Sorry, keep
that's
going.
true.
Hey, yeah. Oh,
So,
I
but
like it.
that becomes that there has to be. I don't know. I mean, I I live in a glass house. People know about who know me, who have been my students, know everything about me. I have nothing to hide, but at the same time, I value my away time and time at school, and I separate the two. But
You have to.
there are some people who I think, especially younger teachers, especially when I look at and I'm not trying to defend this woman, but I mean, I could just see that, she had just went through a divorce, and you're in a bad place. As a teacher who had been divorced, you can get yourself in a very vulnerable place really quick, and it's not hard. It's not hard to do. Pardon the pun, but it's still. I think it's man. There has to be a better vetting process for this, but at the same time, you can't prevent everything from happening. So.
How do you vet that? How do you? I mean, obviously,
Well,
there's been incidents.
well,
Like
there,
they mentioned, there was incidents in like her dress code before. So like,
yeah, but
have a stricter dress code. And like,
I
hey,
don't.
one time, don't do this again. Like,
Well,
I mean, you don't. Yeah, I don't know.
there's
How do you vet that?
well, first of all, when they're hired, I mean, we go through a what do they call that, biometrics. We go through a biometrics background check. When I first came to Clopton 20 years ago, I had to go up to the Pike County Sheriff's Department. I had to be fingerprinted, and then they ran it through the FBI database and all that stuff. I mean, I know in Missouri at least. I don't know in other schools or in other states, but I mean, we go through the biometric process. They check your background, and then with as far as teacher dress code, I mean, yeah, you've got to. I think the administrators have to be on top of that, because some administrators I think, and this isn't in our district, but I think some probably in these bigger districts, or even maybe in these smaller districts. Oh, I don't want to, if you have a male administrator uh, addressing a female teacher on how they dress, I mean, that could I could see people saying, well, they could file that as sexual harassment or sexual targeting or whatever you want to call it. They
I
find
feel
some.
like you shouldn't be able to do that though in that type of environment. Like it has to be. You have to have like male or female. It doesn't matter at that point. Like there has to be a standard of like,
Oh
hey,
yeah,
like
I think there has to be a standard of professionalism too. Don't come dressed as a hooker. Don't come dressed as,
yeah. I mean,
or don't, or some dude coming in and he's, if some guys, and I could say the same thing for dudes too. If you're coming in and you're wearing skinny jeans and you've got, the old package is bulging down there, and you've got your tight, I've seen guys wear the super tight, skin tight shirts too that would show off the guns and everything else. I'm going to tell you, dress professionally. If you're a male teacher, I'm going to tell you, as an administrator, I'm going to
Just
tell
wear
you,
some gray sweatpants without any underwear.
yeah, I'm going to tell, God, I'm going to
pull
tell
up
you,
looking like Fetterman.
right? Yeah, I'm going to.
Hey man, I'm a PE teacher. All
I'm a
right,
PE
leave me alone.
teacher.
I gotta stay agile, stay
I'm,
loose.
I'm going to tell you at least, hey, wear a collared shirt, dude. Wear a polo. Wear or wear a nice dressed T-shirt or something. Ladies, let's not try to show off the goods. I mean, guys and gals, I don't want to sound sexist, but just
low cut V-necks are not
yeah,
for
yeah,
school. I think we
yeah.
can all agree.
So,
Male and female.
well, yeah.
I don't need to see your chest hairs in my face.
There you go. So, I guess we've got a little bit of time yet left to discuss, and we'll get more into this as we go along. But for those who hadn't heard, or this is something that's developing even as today. Um, on Tuesday, Trump appeals has an appeals hearing at the Washington District Appeals Court on having claiming presidential immunity over what happened over January the 6th, and that he should not be.
Dun dun.
Yeah,
January.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Where is it?
yeah.
Where is it?
Uh,
That works. That works.
no, you're talking. I know what you're talking. Yeah. So yeah. So that he should be held. That he should be
Oh, I
held.
love it. I love it.
The immunity over in special over in special circumstances. So basically, the judges on the federal appeals court today, they appear to be really skeptical of his immunity arguments, and they questioned Trump's lawyer in the hearing this morning over claims that he can't be prosecuted for his actions after the 2020 election because he was working in his official capacity as president to ensure election integrity. Okay, so and Trump was there at the hearing this morning. He wants the U.S. District Court of Appeals, the D.C. U.S. District Court of Appeals, to overturn a lower court ruling rejecting his claims of immunity and in special counsel Jack Smith's 2020 election subversion case, and he wants a dismissal of the federal charges against him. So, and then Trump's lawyers, basically, their argument was that prosecuting a former president would open a Pandora's box, as the special counsel's office urged the judges to deny Trump's immunity claims, as no president is above the law. And if y'all aren't familiar, next week, I believe next week, this is coming. Next week is the Iowa caucuses. So for the for the election. So
is that one of the places he was removed from the ballot on?
No. That is in the state of Maine and Colorado, and the Supreme Court agreed on Friday. They agreed on Friday to hear or discuss the case, but a lot of the fear in that thing is, people believe that what Colorado and what Maine are citing this on is a provision in the 14th Amendment that basically excludes any federal official from running for election if they were part of any kind of insurrection.
Okay, but that's the thing. I was asking you about this offline. Like, if he hasn't been proven guilty in court of inciting an insurrection or being a part of it, can they actually use the 14th Amendment against him legally under the Constitution?
Well, so
I don't think he can.
Legally speaking, Trump was indicted. Okay, when you think about,
he was indicted.
Yeah, so when you're impeached, that is in a sense an indictment. It's not a conviction. You're right in saying that, Travis. It is not. It's not a conviction. He's not being convicted of doing so, but speaking on, I can't believe I'm doing this, but speaking on behalf of Trump, the Colorado and these Maine Supreme Court judges are acting out of line, because they have, first of all, they have no, like you said, they have no ground to base this on. Until you're found guilty in a court of law of a crime, you can't run for re-election all you want to. He hasn't been found guilty of anything. And
that's what terrifies me with this whole thing. Like, is this, and we all watched that Sean Ryan episode, but he asked a good question. Like, is this the new normal at this? Are we going to start manipulating the law to go after political parties and opponents? So, like, we meet certain agendas, and
we might as well go ahead and touch on this since we're on this this podcast that Travis is talking about, is one that we had mentioned, that we all three had watched, and it's over 2 hours, but I would
parts.
It was 2 parts, and I would recommend it. Sean Ryan's interview with I can't remember the name of the attorney right now. Well, one of Trump's former attorneys, and it wasn't so much talking about Trump's innocence or guilt. It wasn't one of those. It was just looking at the procedures that were being used to push all of these trials at a really rapid pace. And I think we're going to discuss this a little bit at depth a little bit later on when we have Alex on again. But
yeah, I'd like to.
But it's really all of this stuff coming forward is opening up, and I'll agree, it's opening up Pandora's box, because if this becomes the new norm of what we do to our political opponents,
we're screwed.
We're screwed. But at the same time, I'm going to look at the other side of this coin, because one of the things that was brought up in this hearing this morning, and the quote that was brought up, a judge asked the president. So one of the judges asked the president, if could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political opponent? That is an official act in order to SEAL Team 6. And the response, I wish I could find the audio of this, because the way I don't know if this is the audio or not, but the response was just like, well, there's certain circumstances as to what could, how this could be interpreted and what could it be interpreted as, because, and then he goes like, oh, Obama did, but that was Osama bin Laden,
it's not a political opponent.
It's not a political opponent. So
you guys didn't have your ballots in for Osama?
No.
For the next election cycle?
So
no, and they already killed.
Could you imagine though, in theory, like just think of with Grandpa Joe and all the talk that Kennedy Jr. has talked about, how he's like, they won't give me Secret Service or whatever, and then he's just out at a rally one night, and then all of a sudden you just
snap. You
see him drop,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just hear, the next day on the news, like Joe Biden does a, State of the Union, and comes out there, waddles out there, walks off the screen, and then his advisor walks him back in front of the podium real quick and reminds him, and he's like, we have found and destroyed political adversary RFK Jr.
Yeah,
it'd be insane if that happened. But that's crazy. Like, that's a whole nother topic too. The fact that they still have not given that guy Secret Service protection. Like, he's got enough support. Like, there's no reason to not give it to him.
Let me see.
We're not talking about a guy that has like 100,000 supporters. Like, he's got a pretty large percentage going.
Let me play this. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Let me see.
Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6?
He would have to be and would speedily be, impeached and convicted before the criminal prosecution.
What if he weren't? There would be no criminal prosecution, no criminal liability for that?
Chief Justice's opinion in Marbury against Madison and our constitutional tradition and the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause all clearly presuppose that what the founders were concerned about was not.
I asked you a yes or no question. Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first. And
so your answer is
no. My answer is qualified yes.
I mean, we all at that point.
So when I look at that,
who is that? They asked that. Who was
that? So that was Trump's his chief attorney, John Sauer. So that was John Sauer, who is his chief attorney. I mean, what do you take of that? I mean,
I would like to hear a Democrat's response to that question too, though.
I would too.
It's not. It's like any politician. It's never yes or no. It depends on the context. Like we heard that bullshit before.
That's the university answer right there.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Is genocide against your guys' school policy? Well, that just depends.
It depends.
Yeah, but I think
have we met our criteria for diversity this year, or where are we at?
Right.
But if you
Well,
can't give a yes or no answer to that question, that opens a lot of doors to so we're saying we can theoretically we can eliminate political opponents because why not?
that's frightening. That's frightening because in this, like you said, you guys both said earlier, in this new political environment that we're in, we can. It's like if I don't like what the president is doing, I can introduce impeachment charges in the House. If I don't like his agenda, if I can, and then if he did something, was January 6th a terrible thing? For some people, it was a terrible thing, and so other people say, well, it was a necessary evil to wake people up, to wake the country up, and say that you can't pull this kind of crap off again. I can guarantee. I think one thing is for certain that if I look at this next election, I bet you anything this next election is going to be the most closely watched. They're going to allow observers in every ballot place requested to watch to make
and
sure.
I hope so.
And I mean, and probably what in some of these cases, and this has happened in other countries. You guys, I'm sure you're aware of this. Maybe you're not, but in other countries, when they've had elections, UN observers have been sent in to observe.
Well, I don't want the UN here, but
that's another thing. I mean,
that I don't want.
So question for you, because I'll be honest, I am not the expert on this topic, but so one of the big things I always see is, and we've talked about this before, and I think it might vary based off location, but government issue IDs. One of the big things I always see is like how in the United States, government issued IDs are not required for voting, but I feel like every time I've gone to a poll, I've had to give an ID.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
so is that just like based off location or what?
Here in Louisiana, so I've voted in 2 elections. I voted in a city election, and I voted in the last presidential election. When I went in, they asked for my in Missouri. I don't know if you got or Sean, if you've gotten yours yet since you've moved back or not yet, but they're going towards these what they're calling real IDs, and there's a bar on the back, a scan bar on the back, and the place, and for Louisiana, this was a big deal. I thought anyway, but I put my ID on this thing, it scanned it, and it automatically identified me. The voting people had a screen in front of them that brought up my picture. They compared that to me. They gave me a ballot. Which Perfect. I thought was, hey, I'm all for that. If somebody says, well, that's disenfranchising somebody if you can't provide an ID, pardon my French, but bullshit. That's bullshit because I'm going to do this thing of saying, you want to have me vote. You want to have me vote. Okay, give me your ID. Give me your ID. And then we can think about all that we can eliminate. Think about all of what we can eliminate with it. Voter fraud, number 1. Voter fraud, all the claims of voter fraud, all the issues surrounding it. We wouldn't have this mess. Or maybe we would have. I don't know. I'm speaking too matter-of-factly, I guess. But I think Trump, if you can ensure a safe, non-irregularity election, good. Then we wouldn't have had this problem.
What are your guys' takes on 2 things? And I actually don't dislike the idea of making election day, like the day you vote, a federal holiday.
Yes.
So definitely. That way, because obviously, people say, oh, we give you time off for work. But no, I think in my opinion, I think it should be a federal holiday so that there is no excuse. Like your ass can get to the poll, but also, what are your guys' takes in? Because obviously this last one, because of COVID, mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots were bigger this past election than they'd ever been. And for me, I don't know, and V, you might be able to educate me a bit on how, strict the mail-in ballot process is, or, because there were, if you don't, like, if you guys remember, there were states where it was like seemingly Trump had won and won by a large margin, but then they did the quote unquote mail-in ballots, and then it was, swung the other way for Biden. And I know obviously that, people, that what they said was, that's because people that were voting for Biden were social distancing and that they were posted up and that they were quarantined, blah, 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 blah. But, what is the actual protocol for ensuring that that like one person is doing one mail-in ballot?
Sean, I would just like to tell you my personal experience with this. So like, I did a mail-in ballot here in McHenry County, Illinois for like the last election. I did the mail-in, like I forget 1 week later or a couple days later, they got a hold of me. They were suspicious of my signature because it didn't match previous documents I had with McHenry County. It was a little bit different. I had to actually go into McHenry County and verify that my signature was correct for them to validate my ballot. They took it very serious here.
Wow.
Well, that's good.
That's
they
really,
actually,
but does that happen? Does that happen everywhere? Like, did that happen in Atlanta?
That's the thing.
Right.
Exactly. That's just my experience with mail-in ballot. For me, I saw that and I was like, okay, this seems pretty legit for my county anyway.
Yeah, is
it like that? Yeah.
I don't know if it's like that for every county or not, or if it's in that for every situation. But we have in Illinois, Illinois state workers get election day off. My wife will get election day off. She'll get the election day off because they want to, and Illinois is a Democratic state, blue state, and they want to make sure that all of their workers.
Oh, of course.
And you feed the machine, but I think that's not something that's not that's a legitimate request in my book is making that to where you get that time off, you should be able to go in and vote. And I think on election day, if you can make that even I'm sure it would probably be a little bit more of a stretch, but something in federal law somewhere says you, regardless of whether it's a fast food joint or whatever it is, you need to give your people, 2-3 hours, whatever, off to go vote, because in some places, there are going to be lines and it is going to be a big deal. So, I think it's something that needs to be inspected and it needs to be looked at. But, we, in future shows, we're running out of time now, but in future shows, we are going to look at the whole, this case against Trump and kind of some of the
do you guys,
things.
Real quick, do you guys have 10, 15 minutes, or are we trying to call it here? Because I had a question. If not, I can save it for another podcast.
I'd say save it for another one because we're running close on time.
Too easy. Oh, that's right, because you got to limit the...
Yep.
Okay. Yep, I'll save it.
Well,
Next Trump episode.
So...
Too easy.
Yep. Sean, why don't you close us out then, my friend?
Yeah, no, guys, this was a great talk. I'm glad that all kind of worked out with our schedules. To our listeners, make sure you be a friend, tell a friend. Again, this year is going to be a big one for us. With everything that's going on, we are going to try to follow the election as close as we can, continue to kind of give you guys updates. Once we get into, some of the primary season and the voting there, you'll start to see a lot of very specific episodes. We kind of like lean in to the election and it being an election year. And definitely great to talk to you boys as always. Be a friend, tell a friend, stay safe. If you are traveling out in the tundra, make sure that you don't bang your teachers, and have a good one. We'll talk again soon.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Be sure to check out our other content on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.